Hey, welcome, Jen here. And today I'm going to talk to you about boundaries again. Yes, I know I just talked about boundaries a couple of days ago, but I've been seeing some things that makes me want to dive a bit deeper into it. And I see people struggling. I see people suffering, and I want to see if I can help with that. So, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into boundaries, give you a little bit more in depth of my take on that, and how you can stop suffering at the hands of other people. Okay, I'm Jen Kunkel. I'm the creator of the Wild Worth methodology to stop you from feeling insignificant, invisible, and unfulfilled, and instead to unleash your wild, savvy self where you know exactly who you are, what you stand for, and what you want your life to look like. And you're taking purposeful, inspired action to create that life. Most importantly, is enjoying the journey along the way. And a big part of enjoying that journey is to not be triggered by the actions or words or behaviors of other people, because we don't control other people. You know, we can only control ourselves or our reactions to them. So when we talk about boundaries, a lot of times people feel like it's about controlling the other person. You might feel like you're being taken advantage of, or taken for granted, or bullied, or people are just being mean. You're talked to in a bad way, in a negative way. People are maybe using harsh words with you, and it can go anywhere from just rubbing you a little bit wrong to be just feeling downright mean and like crushing you and making you feel like you just want to go in a corner and cry and like humiliated or whatever it is that they're doing. So, first of all, let me say that I am in no way, shape, or form insinuating that people are not responsible for their actions and their behaviors and the way that they talk to you, and that they should not be held accountable in many cases, because that is absolutely, they most certainly are responsible for their own actions and behaviors. Here's the deal, though. If you put all the responsibility on them, people are just going to do what they're going to do. You're not going to be able to control other people. So even though in a perfect world they would be they are responsible for it, okay? No matter what. They're responsible for their behavior, their words, the way they speak to you, the way, whatever the case may be. I don't think, so first of all, if you empower yourself to stop being triggered by what other people do or say, and it doesn't matter, no matter what, even though they're still responsible for what they put out there. If you become responsible for not being triggered, well then they're not going to get to you, because there's people out there that'll just push your button sometimes on purpose just to mess with you because they think it's funny or whatever. I don't know, old school humor or something. They think it's funny to pick on people. Anyway, I've had that happen to me, and it's just not fun. And I actually was an easy target, because with certain people, it would push my buttons and I would react, and they would think it was funny or whatever, or maybe, oh shoot, I went too far, and they'd back off, but the damage was already done because it got to me. So I have not always just let stuff roll off. It's gotten to me before, so I know exactly how it feels, and I know, because I've done it, that you can get to a different place. I remember my mom would always say, just ignore them, they'll stop, that's what they want from you. And I was like, how do you do that? You can, no, Anyway, now I get it. Like, it's true. If you don't let the stuff bother you, usually they'll stop. Okay, because they're not getting the reaction that they want. Now, that said, that sometimes people do mean things because they think it's funny. I really don't think most people, for the most part, that people are mean inherently. I think that people are wounded and damaged, and they have their own stuff that they're dealing with. And I think that a lot of bad behaviors stem from that. It doesn't excuse them. It doesn't mean that they get to treat you any way that they want to because they're damaged or wounded. It doesn't mean that at all. They're still responsible for their behaviors and their actions. And at the same time, you can be responsible for not getting triggered by them so that you can be happier, so that you can just be like, whatever, I'm I'm rubber, you're glue, or whatever. And that saying is, oh, what you say bounces off me and sticks to you. So, yeah. So that saying, that's just become the rubber, and let everything bounce off of you. Now, is that something you can do in 2 seconds? Probably not. That would be awesome though, right? Yeah, it's probably not, but I get that. It took me, it's growth, it's progress, but it can be done. I know because I've done it. And, is that to say that nothing ever gets under my skin anymore? No, because sometimes it does. There are still people who, push my buttons sometimes, not all the time. And the more I grow, the easier it gets to bounce back from that. The easier it gets to not let it get to me. And I would have to say, it progresses over time, and that would be the case for you. So it gets easier, it gets better, just like anything. The more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. So is there one secret magic pill to do this? Not really. Yeah. No, it's just a part of growing, and first of all is acknowledging that setting those boundaries isn't necessarily going to be about controlling the other person. Sure, you can talk to that person, and in some cases, some people will get worse if you talk to them, and that's someone that we would probably consider mean. I'm sure there's some kind of wound you can go back to and see there, but that does not excuse them. So, some people you need to walk away from. That would be a way to enforce a boundary. If you talk to them and it just doesn't go well and it's going nowhere and it's not important enough for you to dive deeper, or, sometimes you just need to walk away. Other times you can maybe dig a little deeper as to what's going on, because sometimes people just people suck at communicating. That's the bottom line. Most people just suck at communication and interpersonal skills and learning, sharing what's really going on underneath the surface. And sometimes that stuff comes out as something that seems mean or negative or harsh, or in a tone, that you don't like, or that you feel is condescending or disrespectful. And some people don't even realize they're doing it. So, like I said, people suck at communicating. We all do. I suck at communicating sometimes. I have super sucked at communicating in the past. I used to be very opinionated and come across as very brash, and I did not realize how harsh it sounded. And then I ended up having my feelings hurt because I thought I was giving this great advice and to people close to me, and it was not well received. So my feelings were hurt. I felt like they were wrong. They felt like I was wrong. And it was really just a matter of communication, because I was not presenting my suggested solutions in a way that acknowledged the other person too, and that the way they were doing it, it was kind of it would make them feel like the way they were doing it was wrong and that my way was the right way. So this was when I was much younger, and I learned first of all, I had to learn that that's what was going on. And then I learned to either just leave it alone or present my suggestions in a different way, to where because we both felt like the other person was being mean. And I think that happens a lot of times. And so instead of approaching it from a standpoint of, that person is being mean to me, they are wrong, and they should, apologize, and they need to change what they're doing, and I'm doing everything I didn't do anything wrong, So instead of taking that approach, how dare they step on me again? I'm setting a boundary, and that's final. I'm just going to tell them, if you can't do it this way, then you're just going to have to be out of my life. Well, if you take that approach, you're probably going to have a lot of people being out of your life that you could have said, hey, you know what? Something's going on here. here's how I'm feeling. How are you feeling? Do you get that? Or like, what's really going on with you? How could, maybe you don't realize you're coming across this way, or whatever the case is. And sometimes you just have to take a break and take a step back, because some people are not that easy to talk to. They're not, once you might be learning and growing and you can talk about that stuff, but they're still not going to talk about it. There's maybe they don't even realize what's really going on underneath, and it's just how stuff is coming out for them. So if you start to go, if you start to open a line of communication and it's not going well, don't keep pushing it. Back off a little bit, give them some space to kind of recalibrate and adjust to the new you that has grown to the point that you are now, and then maybe approach it again another time. The other thing is that the more you learn how to just let stuff roll off, you'll realize that most of these conversations are not even necessary, because it won't trigger you, and then you won't get engaged, and it won't even seem like anything anymore. You'll get to that point. Yeah. You can get to that point anyway. I have for most things, that they just don't bother me anymore. And some things do. and I, and then I do my best to acknowledge that and kind of roll with it, or figure out what's really going on deeper there. Okay, so questions, comments, thoughts, has this been helpful? Let me know below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. Remember, okay, just also remember, I'm not saying, I also want to make sure I'm clear that other people are still responsible for their actions, but maybe, in certain cases, yes, you need to take those steps to hold them accountable. In the little minute petty day-to-day stuff, that's different. Those are two completely different things. So if you are, if you're in a situation where someone is like really being, like someone's being, you're in danger, someone's being abusive, you're in a situation where, you aren't sure that you're safe, then reach out and get some support with that, please. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Remember, you're more powerful than you know. Much love.